Good morning and welcome into Sports Talk on a Budget. It is September 3rd, year of our Lord 2025. Yes, we're into September, basically almost into fall. Football season is here, already 2 weeks of college football, a week and a half, basically. Week 0 doesn't really count. And now we're into week 1 of the NFL. That is going to be a big part of the show. It's going to be my NFL preview, but going to start off with some college football teams that lost this weekend that I was high on, and just go over the panic meter and what the fan base and what the team's panic meter should be for these teams. But before I do, just want to remind you, as always, if you like the video version of this podcast, please go like and subscribe right down here on YouTube. However, if you like the audio version, you can go like and subscribe on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. With all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into our show. So like I said, this is going to be my ultimate NFL preview, but I wanted to talk a little bit of college football before I get into the NFL preview. Want to go over about 5 teams, 4 of them that I was high on going into the season that did not have a good weekend, go over the panic meter for those teams, and then the 5th team, just to be a little bit of a spoiler, I'm going to be really panicked on because I did not like what I saw from them. But let's go ahead and go over the panic meter for some of these top teams in college football that did not have the best first opening weekend. We're going to start with Texas, who lost on the road 14-7 to Ohio State. Texas right now, I'm at a panic meter of 3. Played a really good team in Ohio State on the road. Matt Patricia's first game as defensive coordinator, he rattled your quarterback. He rattled your offensive coordinator and Steve Sarkisian. So a lot of unknowns going into that game, and we found out a lot of things about both teams a little bit in that game as well. So panic meter only 3 for Texas because they still have a lot of big games on their schedule. They don't get into conference play for a few more weeks. So I think they'll be fine. I still like their defense. Their running game was okay, should be better going forward against lesser opponents. The only concern I would have about this Texas team would be the quarterback. Arch Manning in that game, he did not look great to me. He looked tight, he looked nervous, and he just looked like a quarterback or a player that was not ready for that moment. And we all thought, okay, we knew he had the athleticism, but maybe he had a big arm. Maybe he's a guy that has a good ball, quick release. That did not show up at all. In fact, he skipped the first pass to his receiver. It was probably about 7-8 yards short. And the whole game, I don't remember him making a big throw the entire game. So big question mark for Arch Manning going forward. He was a Heisman favorite. That is no longer the case or shouldn't be the case. I never bought into the hype, but going to need a lot better performance from him if they're really going to want to hit their full potential. So that is a huge question mark for me, is Arch Manning going forward. Next team we're going to go to is Clemson. And Clemson was my national championship pick going into the season when I made my college football preview. Not backing off of that now, but they lost Saturday night at home against LSU. The things I didn't like about Clemson in that game is their running game and their offensive line. I thought that they would have the edge in the lines of scrimmage on both sides of the ball against LSU. That was not the case at all. And if you're not going to have a running game, Cade Klubnik's a good quarterback, but he's not a good enough quarterback to put on the Superman cape and win games for you. So don't love that either. So Clemson only have a 4 on the panic meter for them, a little bit higher than Texas, just because this was a home game for them. This was a game that I thought they would win. And if you look around in the ACC, Miami looked really good. Florida State looked really good. Georgia Tech looked good on the road. Maybe this conference is a little bit tougher than we anticipated going into the season. So that might make things a little bit more difficult for Clemson going forward as well. Here's where the panic ratchets up. Next team is Alabama. And right now I have Alabama as an 8 on the panic meter. And the reason why I have Alabama as an 8 on the panic meter is because this team doesn't look like they have any effort. They lose on the road to a Florida State team that they were favored minus 13.5 against. And they lose to that Florida State team 31-17. And Florida State pushed them around. Florida State was the more hungry team. They put the more effort in. They were the more disciplined team. And looking at this program under Kalen DeBoer, they're 5-5 in their last 10 games. They're one of the more undisciplined teams in the country. He hasn't coached a game in 14 games where he's had less penalty yards than the opposition. That is something that you would never see under Nick Saban. And he's already lost to 4 unranked opponents. It took Nick Saban like 128 games to do that. It's taken him 14. So not good, not a good look right now for this Kalen DeBoer Alabama team. I would have it as an 8 on the panic meter because they still have a lot of big games. You still got to play LSU. You still got to play Georgia on the road. You have a lot of big games. Auburn looked pretty good at Baylor as well, so maybe that's not as easy as a game. Tennessee looked good. You got to play Tennessee. So Alabama, I love the hire when they hired Kalen DeBoer, but it looks like the fit might not be there. Not ready to pull the string yet, but the fans down there are. So panic meter of 8 for Alabama. They better get this ship righted soon, or the noise is going to get real loud in Tuscaloosa. Next team is going to be Notre Dame, who lost on Sunday night to Miami 27-24. Just a 3 for Notre Dame here. Road game. Miami looked really good. They looked very improved on the defensive side. CJ Carr, the quarterback for Notre Dame, actually looked pretty good in that game as well. Looked better than I thought he would. The thing that concerns me a little bit for Notre Dame is they weren't able to run the ball very well. Their back, Jeremiah Love, who I think is the best back in the country, did not have a great game. They did not have a good game overall running the football. And that's what Notre Dame does. They hang their hat on their offensive line and their running game. And if they're not able to do that, that is not a good sign for this team going forward. So just the 3 right now for Notre Dame because I think they have a relatively easy schedule, but still some concerns there with the offensive line and the running game. But I think they'll get this righted because they have the players and the athletes there. Final team I'm going to talk about is a team that played Monday night and was absolutely embarrassed, and that was in Bill Belichick's college football debut, and that is North Carolina. And the panic meter I have for North Carolina is at a full 10. The reason it's at a full 10 for me is there's a couple of reasons. Not only that you lose 48-14 at home to a TCU team that I thought was middle of the pack in the Big 12. Maybe they're better than they are. Their quarterback looked really good on Monday night as well. But this North Carolina team, outside of the first drive, their offense looked awful. It took them like 2 hours of real time after the first drive to complete another pass. And your offensive coordinator is Freddie Kitchens. I don't know where he's ever been a success as an offensive coordinator or head coach. I think he's only really had success as an offensive line or tight ends coach. So that doesn't bode well for you. And the defense looked absolutely atrocious. And their schedule is very manageable, at least we thought it was. But after that performance on Monday night, maybe it's not as manageable as we thought. And you have a 75-year-old head coach in his first time coaching college football in Bill Belichick. You have all the noise that swirled around in the offseason with him and his young girlfriend and everything going on there. Let's just say it wasn't the greatest offseason for this North Carolina team. And now you go into this game and you get absolutely embarrassed in your home opener on a standalone game on Labor Day night in his debut. I think the panic meter's at a 10. If they're even close in this game against a bad group of 5 Charlotte team this Saturday, I think the panic meter will ratchet up even more past the highest level pretty much. So, like I said, I have a full panic for this North Carolina team. I think things are going to get real rough in a hurry for this team, and it could be a long season for Bill Belichick in his first season at North Carolina. But that was my panic meter for some of the top teams that I like going into the season that did not have the greatest week 1. That has been my college football breakdown so far in this show. Now we're going to go ahead and move to the NFL. I'm going to do my full NFL preview show. And we're going to start with my division picks. And I wanted to start with the AFC. In the AFC, I'm going to start in the AFC East. The AFC East has been dominated by the Buffalo Bills for the last 5 years. They've actually won 5 division championships in a row. So I'm going to make it 6. My pick in the AFC East is going to be the Buffalo Bills. I still like Josh Allen. I think he's the best quarterback in the league right now, at least one of the top 3, no doubt, best quarterbacks in the league as well. I think their defense will get better. I think their young receiving core will get better, whether that's Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, the tight end, Dalton Kincaid. I think they'll improve this year as well and be better weapons for Josh Allen this season. So I think that really helps. So give me the Buffalo Bills in the AFC to win the AFC East for the 6th straight season with Josh Allen and Sean McDermott at the helm. We're going to move to the AFC North. And this is a division the last couple of years that has been dominated by the Ravens, but you have other teams like the Bengals and the Steelers that have popped up and challenged the Ravens over the past 5 years. I think they could challenge them a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, the Baltimore Ravens will be your AFC North division champions. Still the best quarterback in that division, or maybe 1A, 1B with him and Joe Burrow, but best roster overall in that division with the Baltimore Ravens. Derrick Henry had a really great year last year. Is this year he falls off? I don't know, because they're not going to put a ton of load on him because of what Lamar Jackson can do running the ball, and they have some good backup running backs as well. Their receivers took another step last year in Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman. Do they continue that as well? Mark Andrews is still a good tight end, even though his season didn't end well last year, but still a very good above average tight end. And you know they're going to play defense. You know they're going to come at you. You know they're going to hit you. And you know they're going to be physical. So I like this Ravens team to win the AFC North and represent the AFC North in the playoffs. The AFC South, another division. The AFC is actually a very easy conference to pick divisions the last couple of years because there's been clear number one teams in each division, and that is the case with the AFC South. The Texans are back-to-back champions in the AFC South. They still have the best quarterback, in my opinion. They still have the best coach, in my opinion. I love their defensive personnel. I think Will Anderson Jr. will be a top 5 defensive end / linebacker in the league by year's end. You have Derek Stingley Jr. You have Danielle Hunter. Really good defense. Offense, Nico Collins is really coming into his own as a number one wide receiver. The running back situation is a little weird with Joe Mixon's injury, but you have Nick Chubb, you have Dameon Pierce. I think they'll be fine there. I just think this Texans team is the best team in this division. The Colts have a lot of issues. The Titans are starting a rookie quarterback and still have a lot of issues as well. And the Jaguars always seem to have a lot of issues. So the least question marks, and I think the best team with the best coach and the best quarterback in this division is the Texans. So my AFC South winner is going to be the Houston Texans. Moving to the AFC West, and we know how this has gone for basically the last 7 seasons. The Chiefs have dominated the AFC West. But this may be the deepest division in football. It is definitely the deepest division in the AFC. Behind the Chiefs, you have a Chargers team, second year under Jim Harbaugh. I think they take another step. A Broncos team, third year under Sean Payton. I think could take another step as well. Second year with Bo Nix as their starting quarterback. And a Raiders team who brings in a competent quarterback in Geno Smith and a competent head coach in Pete Carroll. So I think this team will be improved. They have one of the best players in the league, in my opinion, in Brock Bowers at tight end. So that team could be improved as well. With all that being said, I'm still going to go ahead and roll with the Chiefs as the AFC West Division champions until I see otherwise, basically. Until I see otherwise, I'm going to roll with the Chiefs as your division champion in the AFC West. Although I think this division is the deepest and toughest division in the West, I think we could see a couple of wild card teams behind the Chiefs in this division. And now let me give you my 3 wild card picks in the AFC. My 3 wild card picks in the AFC, I do have 2 teams making it out of the AFC West. I have the Broncos and the Chargers making the playoffs as wildcard teams. I love the direction of this Broncos team. I think they're going to play really good defense. They're going to run the ball well with their litany of running backs there, and Sean Payton always has good running teams. And I like the maturity of Bo Nix. I think he takes another step this year. So that's why I have the Broncos in there. Chargers, yes, losing Rashawn Slater is a huge blow, but you still have Joe Alt, who's a top tackle in this league. Justin Herbert's going to get better and better. Love the first-round pick of Omarion Hampton. And you're still going to play really good defense under Jim Harbaugh, so that's why I have the Chargers as a wild card team. And my third and final wild card team, you can call me a homer, you can call me whatever you want. I think the New England Patriots sneak into the playoffs and make a wild card run, improve their team so much this offseason. Starting at the head coaching spot with Mike Vrabel, who is a legit NFL head coach. The defense got better with getting guys like Milton Williams, Carlton Davis, you got Spillane. You got a lot of guys on the defensive side that I thought were Robert Spillane, were upgrades. You got really good offensive draft picks in Trevion Henderson, who I think is going to be an absolute star. You bring in Stephon Diggs as a free agent, Kyle Williams, good offensive line play as well. Jared Wilson along the offensive line, who I think is going to play a lot. Will Campbell, your first pick, is going to start at left tackle. And I think Drake May takes that next step. So I'm really bullish. Yes, you can call me a homer. You can see the flag behind me of the Patriots. But I think the Patriots sneak their way into a playoff game and into that last and final 7th playoff seed. Let's go ahead and move to the NFC right now. And we're going to start in the NFC East. And I think this is a 2-horse race in the NFC East between the Eagles and the Commanders. I had to roll with the Eagles. Right now, I'm rolling with the Eagles. Still love their roster. Still love their offensive roster. Their offensive line is still going to be stout. They lost some defensive pieces, but I still think they'll play really good defense. They'll have really good personnel at every level on the defense as well. I think the Commanders will challenge in this division, but I think the Eagles will win out and end up being your NFC East champions and represent the NFC East in the NFL playoffs. Now I'm moving to the NFC North, and I've been back and forth on this all day, but before I wanted to talk about my NFC North champion, wanted to break down and react to the breaking news of last weekend in the NFC North, and that was the Packers trading for Micah Parsons from the Dallas Cowboys. Huge trade. I think this is the trade that can put them over the top in this division. Micah Parsons, yes, he's not Lawrence Taylor, he's not Reggie White, but he's a guy who's had 45 plus sacks in his first 4 seasons in the NFL. He's a guy who could be super disruptive off the edge. He's not great in the running game, but he's a guy that gets after the passer. He could actually play decent in the pass game as well. And he's a guy who's a difference maker on your defense. So at the end of the day, in the NFC North, I'm going to roll with the Green Bay Packers to win this division. And I wasn't high on Green Bay, if you've heard me throughout the offseason, either on this show or from the Sidelines NFL, where I guest host there on the Sports Fluent channel. I haven't been super high on this Packers team all offseason, but the addition of Micah Parsons really helps it out there, and they still have a good offense. Can Jordan Love take that next step? Matthew Golden, their first-round pick. You got Josh Jacobs, who's one of the most underrated players in the league. So I think the Packers will overtake the Lions, who are back-to-back division champions in this division, and I think they will win the NFC North. Moving to the NFC South, I think it's kind of a 2-horse race there, and that is going to be between the Buccaneers and the Falcons. At the end of the day, I trust the Buccaneers more. I trust Baker Mayfield more. I really like that offense, their receiving core, Bucky Irving and Rachaad White at their running back positions. And I think they'll play good enough defense to be a playoff team and win that division. So give me the Buccaneers in the NFC South to win the division for a 3rd straight season. Might actually be a 4th straight season if I got there. Yeah, for a 4th straight season. And then we'll move out to the NFC West. And this has been tough because I thought I had the NFC West and their division winner down. I thought I knew who was going to win it most offseason, but then Matt Stafford has that injury and he was questionable, but now it looks like he's full go for week 1 for the Rams, so that's huge for them. Still, at the end of the day, question marks there for the Rams, but looking at the rest of the division, I'm not really high right now on the 49ers, even though they have an easy schedule. Don't like the injuries they've dealt with and don't like the turnover they've had with that team. Seahawks, I think, are going to be a good team, but maybe not a division-winning team. And the Arizona Cardinals, I could just never trust at this point. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and roll with the Rams to win the NFC West and represent the NFC West as the division champion in the NFL playoffs. Now I'm going to give you my 3 wild card picks in the NFC. First one is going to be the Detroit Lions. I think the Detroit Lions will be your top wild card team. I think they do challenge the Packers in the NFC North. Packers ultimately win the NFC North and will be the NFC North champions, but I think the Lions will get back in the playoffs with a wild card team. Just too much talent there. I know you lose both your coordinators, but you still have too much talent all over that roster, so I think they'll be a wild card team. Second wild card team was Washington Commanders. I think they're going to have another good year under Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn. I think they're going to be a team that's going to be better and improved on the defensive side. Offense, now you have a bona fide number 2 wide receiver behind Terry McLaurin, who they signed, and he's been practicing now, so he should be fine and good to go for week 1. But bringing in Deebo Samuel, now you have a second weapon for Jaden Daniels in that offense. I think Jaden Daniels has another good year, so give me the Commanders as a second wild card team in the NFC. And then rounding out the wild card in the NFC, I'm actually going to go with a little bit of surprise here, and that is going to be the Seattle Seahawks. I love the additions that they made. I think Sam Darnold is a little bit of an upgrade over Geno Smith. I love bringing in Cooper Kupp as your number 2 behind Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think their defense is just going to get better and better under Mike McDonald, their head coach. And their wide receiving core with Jackson Smith and Jigba, Cooper Kupp's really good. Their running back core with Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, I think, is really good as well. Underrated team, underrated roster. If they can get just half or maybe 2/3 of what Sam Darnold was last year, I think they'll have a really good season and be a playoff team. So that's why I got the Seahawks rounding out the wild card in the NFC and being the 3rd and final wild card spot there. Finally, I wanted to get to my Super Bowl pick In the AFC, I have the Baltimore Ravens finally getting over the hump, Lamar Jackson finally getting over the hump and making the Super Bowl, and they're going to be facing the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles get back to the Super Bowl. I just think they're the most complete team in the NFC. I think they'll be the number one seed in the NFC, so it will go through Philadelphia, which will make the playoffs even tougher. But I think the Ravens finally get over the hump and win the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson becomes the first quarterback in that top three outside of Patrick Mahomes to get over the hump and win a Super Bowl. So that's why I give you the Baltimore Ravens as your 2025-2026 NFL Super Bowl champions. They will beat the Eagles to represent to be the Super Bowl champions. And then finally, I wanted to end my show as always with my Week 1 NFL picks and my Week 2 college football picks. What I'm calling these, if you've been watching the show so far this season, if you've been watching the college football shows, I'm calling these Kody's Covers. So here are my 5 Kody's Covers in college football and 5 Kody's Covers in the NFL. Starting with college football, we have a pretty underrated game with Baylor and SMU. SMU is currently a 3-point favorite. This is in SMU. Baylor is coming off a tough loss against Auburn at home in that opening night game on Friday. I think SMU wins. I think SMU covers. I like Kevin Jennings in that quarterback situation there, so give me SMU -3 in this game. Then we have the Cy-Hawk Trophy battle, and that is Iowa at Iowa State, and Iowa State is currently a 3.5-point favorite in this game. Don't know really what to take from Iowa. They kind of played a cupcake in week 1. Iowa State looked great in that week 0 game against Kansas State. Played a cupcake last week and looked great again. I'm super high on Iowa State. Took them to beat Kansas State even though they were dogs in that game. Super high on Rocco Becht as well. Their offense looks to not miss a beat in the last couple of games also. So give me Iowa State to win. Give me Iowa State to cover. I like Iowa State to win and cover. -3.5 is the play. Then we have a sneaky underrated game, and this is the Florida game. This is South Florida at number 15 Florida. Florida is currently a 17.5-point favorite in this game. I think Florida wins this game outright, and I think they win it fairly comfortably. But I think South Florida, with the way they played last week, just absolutely hammering a ranked Boise State team. Their quarterback looks really good. Their offense looks really good. I think you have the opportunity for a backdoor cover here. So give me South Florida to cover +17.5. Florida gets the win. They're the better team. DJ Lagway, that offense, is the better team. But I think South Florida gets that backdoor cover and covers. So South Florida +17.5 is the play for me there. Then we have a Big 12 SEC matchup, which you don't see very often throughout the season, and that is Arizona State, number 11 Arizona State's at Mississippi State. And Mississippi State's probably the worst, probably one of the worst, if not the worst teams in the SEC, so not super high on them. Arizona State's a 6.5-point favorite. I think they're the best team in the Big 12. I think they're a top 10 team in the country when they play to their full potential. Jordan Tyson's back at wide receiver. Of course, Sam Leavitt, their quarterback, I think is going to be a star and a potential top 10 pick in the NFL draft. So give me Arizona State to win in Starkville and cover. So Arizona State -6.5 is the play there. Then finally, the biggest game of the weekend, and that is number 14 Michigan at number 18 Oklahoma. Oklahoma's currently a 5.5-point favorite in this game. Can't really take anything you saw from either of these teams last week. They played easy teams, cupcakes at home, so can't really take too much. But Bryce Underwood, the freshman quarterback, did look pretty good for Michigan, even against New Mexico. John Mateer and that offense for Oklahoma looked good as well. I think this is where this game is going to be won. What quarterback makes better plays on offense? What quarterback makes less mistakes? I think Oklahoma wins this game, but I think Michigan covers because their defense shows up as well. So give me Michigan +5.5 to cover. I would take Oklahoma to win the game outright. Finally, let's get to our Kody's Covers Week 1 in the NFL, and we have the Thursday night game, the Cowboys at the Eagles, and the Eagles are currently a 7.5-point favorite in this game. Listen, I think it's going to be a long, rough year for the Cowboys. I am not high on them, and then kind of reeling as a team and as a program after the trade of Micah Parsons. You go into the defending Super Bowl champions' backyard for that game. Don't love your chances there. So give me the Eagles to win. Give me the Eagles to cover. I got the Eagles -7.5 in this game. Then you have the Friday night game, and that's the Chargers versus the Chiefs in Brazil, and the Chiefs are currently a 3.5-point favorite in this game. It's a Brazil game. It's an opening weekend game. I think these games are going to be weird. 3.5 is a little bit big of a spread for me because I think these are evenly matched teams who know each other, of course, because they're division rivals. So I think the Chiefs win the game outright, but give me the Chargers to cover. So give me the Chargers +3.5 in this game. Then a good division game again this weekend. We have the 49ers at the Seahawks, and somehow the 49ers are 2.5-point favorites on the road in Seattle against the Seahawks. Like I said earlier, not high on the 49ers. Too much turmoil and turnover this offseason. Don't love the injuries they've had. And the Seahawks, I thought they had underrated pickups. I think the defense will improve under Mike Macdonald. So I think the Seahawks will win, and I would take the money line, but they're getting 2.5, so give me Seahawks plus 2.5 all day. I love that pick. Now we have the Lions at the Packers. Some really good division matchups to open the season that we've already hit on 3, and now we're hitting on a 4th. Lions at the Packers. Packers are 2.5-point favorite in this game. I think this is going to be a really good game. Both these teams figure to be the 2 best teams in the NFC North this year. I have the Packers winning the NFC North. I have the Packers winning this game, and I have them covering, so give me the Packers minus 2.5 to win and cover in this game. Finally, we have the Ravens at the Bills, and the Bills are 1.5-point favorites in this game. You heard my picks earlier. I have the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. I think they're going to be the better team going forward. But this is the Bills' home opener. They're at home. They always get a huge environment at home. Josh Allen's coming off of his MVP season, his first showing since getting the MVP trophy. I think all of that together is too much for the Ravens to overcome at the Buffalo Bills. So give me the Bills to win. Give me the Bills to cover. The Bills minus 1.5 is the play there. So that has been my show today. That was my NFL preview plus my Kody's covers for week 1 in the NFL and week 2 in college football. This has been my show for the day. Thank you for always watching and listening. And before I go, just want to remind you, as always, if you like the video version of this podcast, please go ahead and like and subscribe down here. However, if you prefer the audio version, you can like and subscribe to the show on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Thank you again for watching and listening, and have a great day.